So bad, it's good. A phrase that gets thrown around more than the pigskin on Sunday night. Ever since the internet caught wind of cinema classics like Troll 2, Turkish Star Wars, and The Room, film fans cannot help but overuse this descriptor. In the search to find more media that fits this phrase, I think that most critics and casual fans have come to the conclusion that a key factor to making media that fits this description is intention. If you try to purposely make something bad, you'll miss the point completely. The only real way to achieve this monumental task is to make something with all the passion in the world, but none of the skill. Now, creating any type of media takes a decent amount of skill, and to make a movie, you have to know more than just how to turn on the camera. When we look at films like, say, The Room, the basics are present. The scene is properly lit, the camera's on the right subject, the focus is pulled correctly, and the audio is at the very least rolling. For all intents and purposes, it's a functional piece of media. But what makes The Room stand out is its lack of understanding for how to use these things, how to make engaging characters, and its grossly unkept story. But at the end of the day, its comical misinterpretation of the key components of film mixed with the blind passion of Tommy Wiseau makes it an incredible movie. So how does something like this translate to video games? Well, we could just sit here and dunk on games that fit the definition like Rogue Warrior, Lucius 2, or Ride to Hell Retribution, but those are a little too obvious for me. I want to dig into the mud and I want to outline what it would take to make a good piece of shovelware. Thanks to the Wii and the Game Boy Advance, most folks know what it means to play a piece of shovelware. A game that's so quickly rushed together just to make some quick cash, slapped with a popular brand or person and shoved out the door for the pure sake of cashing in on that franchise. But what if they weren't made to be garbage? It should be no secret that here at 1117 we love bad games, but less so to ridicule them, more to find cool aspects that might be overlooked, to imagine how certain games could have been better and how we can learn from their mistakes. While dunking on bad games is certainly fun and entertaining, it's important to still respect the time and effort that went into them. So let's figure out what it would take to make a piece of shovelware that's so bad it's good. I've crafted a checklist of required aspects to make shovelware gold, but let's first define what it takes to be shovelware. 1. The game has to be based around a pre-established property. Having to come up with an original character is far too time-intensive for a dev who has the strictest of deadlines. And most of the sales come from pure brand recognition, so it's a must. 2. Contains poor graphics or stylized in a lackluster manner. Details take time and cost money. The more money that goes into development, the less that goes into the company's pocket. So most models and backgrounds will be slapdashed together and look pretty similar, except for the main star of the game. They'll be just slightly more detailed. 3. The developers were clearly rushed on the production. Basic functionality is key in these type of games. Not all developers will have the funds to think about players who want to break bounds or do what you didn't intend, so it's function over fun. 4. The game is targeted at parents and grandparents who only know the brand and don't know games. Why would I buy a game for my kid about some simple plumber creep when I could buy him a game about pro fisher Kevin Van Dam? It's simple math, people. 5. The game is usually made by an unknown or untested developer. This allows the rights holders to abuse the studio with tight deadlines and no royalties, more money for the rights holders, and a big stain on the developer's reputation. 6. The game has repetitive loops with little to no breaks. No sprawling epics here, just something that can be played for 20 minutes then put down. Now here are some bonus points to the items above that can take a game that's less than worthy of the bargain bin to the next level. 1. If there's a shred of originality. Do they try and flesh out some of the backstory? Do they try and add characters that are relevant? Do they try to build on something that isn't there? 2. If the graphics are decent or the art style matches the intended target. Either the style matches the property to a T, or the art team made something that wasn't just the easiest possible solution. 3. Some of the sections are genuinely fun and it's clear that the developer wanted to do something more with the title. 4. If the game is targeted for kids, but clearly shouldn't be. This is a miscommunication between the marketing department and the development team. While not a positive note, it just makes for more humor when the consumer looks back at these type of games. 5. the developer has released something good after their shovelware title. It's so rare to see a studio bounce back from this kind of stain on their career. More often than not, studios that mainly produce shovelware are good places for young developers to cut their teeth. And by cut their teeth, I mean they earn a set of fucking shark teeth after learning under such immense pressure. 6. Is the repetition fun? This can be subjective, but it's one of those you know it when you play it type of things. With these rules set in place, let's look at 2 of my favorite and 1 of my least favorite pieces of shovelware to see how they stack up with this list. After which, we'll try and make a quality piece of shovelware abiding by the company's deadline and budget while also trying to adhere to the bonus points listed above. Alright, let's get the bad game out of the way first. I don't want to harp on it too much, but Universal Theme Park Adventures is the most upsetting game I've ever played. Most games should challenge you in some way. They should create positive frustration that makes you feel all the better when you accomplish a task. Why play a game if there's no challenge? But this game frustrates me in the worst way because there's no payoff. When I gave this game a solid chance, I got about 3 hours in before I realized I had made no progress and hadn't got to play any of the movie-themed mini-games. I wanted to do more than just put it down. I wanted to go to 35 degrees, 1 minute, 37.9 seconds north, and 111 degrees, 1 minute, 20.6 seconds west, and bury it with the rest of Evan's dead bodies. Suffice to say, there's no redeeming qualities here. For all of you who are blissfully unaware to the digital manifestation of boredom that is the Universal Theme Park Adventure, let me fill you in. This title is just one big advertisement for an actual theme park and all of its tasty Universal properties. Sounds great, nothing like getting to play unforgettable franchises like Back to the Future, Jaws, Jurassic Park, and most importantly, the Waterworld Stunt Show. But, in order to actually get to the parts of the game where you interact with those properties, you must first complete tasks around the theme park. Okay, I hear you saying this. They must have had something interesting in the hub world planted to make the thing feel, I don't know, alive. Nah, you just get to shake hands with mascots and pick up trash until you just get a shot at riding the games. At which point, I'd rather stand in a virtual line than do any of that shit. But, when you get on the rides, it's just a simple mini game with no heart or soul, or even an interesting Easter egg. Like, this could have been super cool. You could have had all of your favorite franchises in one location, but since there's so many brand guidelines to stick to, this game was neutered to hell, and it's super unfortunate. But now that we've stripped apart the flesh and muscles of this game, let's look at its shovelware skeleton. 1. The game's based around a pre-established property. Multiple checks here, because there's multiple properties. 2. Contains poor graphics or stylized in a lackluster manner. 3. The developers were either rushed or flat out didn't care. I mean, where's the soul in any of this? You can't find it. 4. Targeted to trick parents and grandparents who don't know any better. It's Jaws, Jurassic Park. What kid doesn't want that? Of course they're gonna get this instead of actually taking them to Universal theme parks. 5. The game's made by an unknown developer. Do you know what Naya Digital Works Games is? I didn't think so. I can't even find a Wikipedia page for them. 6. The game loop is repetitive. And it's really only fun in the way that I like to watch my friends suffer when they have to play it, but outside of that, it's just boring. The only bonus points I'll award this game is for number 4. Sure, the game's targeted at young children, but do young children really care about Jaws? Or do they even have the 300 IQ that it takes to understand the metaphorical symbolism of the Waterworld Stunt Show? I don't think so. There's your benchmark, though. Now let's check out games that are actually good. Or that I think are good, they're just kind of silly good. Crazy Frog. A name I can almost guarantee you haven't thought of for quite a while. Much like some other discarded things from 2003 such as the band Trapped, Daddy Daycare with Eddie Murphy, and winner of American Idol Season 2 Ruben Studdard. What a fucking weird time to live through. I don't think I've ever personally met a die-hard Crazy Frog fan. I know plenty of folks who had the chart-topping album Crazy Hits, but I never knew anyone who cared for it more than a fad. I'm sorta just confused, like, who is this made for? Not adults, because as the character's name states, this thing is annoying. Not kids, because the character is far too, lewd? I mean, yes, this thing is targeted at kids, but it really shouldn't be. Tell you what, let's play a little game. I'll give you 3 options as to what this game could be. If you guess wrong, you have to subscribe, and if you guess right, you can unsubscribe and leave the basement dungeon I've trapped you in. Also, if you have prior experience with this game, you're automatically disqualified and must stay in the dungeon. Sound fair? Alright, let's go. Was Crazy Frog for the PS2 a platformer, a kart racer, or a rhythm game? Time's up. It was a kart racer. While I think that when taken into context of the music video, this makes sense, but I'm honestly surprised it wasn't a platformer. Most kart racers require you to know at least most of the cast, with the exception being Diddy Kong's Racing, but outside of the frog himself, I hardly know any of these characters. The actual kart racing in this game is about as 50-50 as it could get. For every good idea, there's an equal or opposite bad one. Courses are tight and provide large jumps, which promotes the feeling of speed, great for your normal racer, but you can't forget about the art of the kart part. A good kart racer needs balanced items and space to maneuver around in. Crazy Frog lacks those things and, like I said, is only 50% of a good racer. Let's look at how this game stacks up in terms of being shovelware. 1. I mean, it's Crazy Frog. Whether you like it or not, he is a pre-established property. 2. I'd say that these graphics are pretty standard for the time. I'm not going to say that they're bad, but I'm just not a fan of the Crazy Frog art style, so I'm going to give a point here. 3. Some of the courses are exact clones of each other and really feels like no one playtested them. 4. That's just Crazy Frog in a nutshell. No parents with working ears would buy anything Crazy Frog related for their kids, but their grandparents would. 5. Yeah, I'm gonna say that this is one of the more infamous studios. They're more known for games like Charlie's Angels, and they don't have a really great track record, so I guess points here. 6. I mean, you really can't get more repetitive than kart racing, can ya? I mean, you can, but this isn't a sports game, and I think we'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, but how does this fit the bill in terms of good qualities? I'm gonna give this one some points just because it really tries to expand the world of Crazy Frog with some strange new additional characters. Please, if you know who these characters are, lecture me in the comments about the extended lore of Crazy Frog. This isn't sarcasm, this is, something I kind of genuinely want to know. I mean, it, again, fits the art style to a T. I'm just not a fan of the art style. I'll give begrudging points here, I guess. I'm not really sure about this one, just because it's not fun to play for more than 10 minutes, and really the only fun just comes from the absurdity of it all. There is poor level design, but there's also a lot of content, so, I'll give it a pass, I guess. Yeah, no points here. Definitely hit the target audience of kids. Did the developer release something good after this? I don't know. You tell me. Have you ever heard of a little game called Brat Slumber Party? That's right. These guys developed that. Honestly, they're most known for shovelware games, so, I'm not gonna say that the kart racing repetition is fun, but there's enough non sequitur mini games that tie the whole general feel of Crazy Frog into line, so sure, some points there. I might have given this one a light pass in 2003, but as it stands now, it's sort of just a time capsule, so if you're into that, grab this game. It's only like $2 on the PS2. Fun fact, Crazy Frog is still going strong in 2019 with videos that garner millions of views, and somehow through the years he's avoided those indecent exposure charges. Sports. Much like picking my nose, making unscented candles, and cheating on my taxes are all things that I'm a bit ashamed to be good at. There was a time where I would plop down in front of the TV and every Sunday night watch the Packers game, but once those big boys from Cheesetown won that superb owl, I lost all interest in sports. What's more to see once they've achieved their ultimate goal? But that didn't keep me from my love of sports video games. Like, holy shit, I still play NCAA 06 because I'm a degenerate who wants to play football games, but also doesn't want to give up my cheap winning strats. But more than regular sports games, I love fantasy sports games. Those times where developers start with the framework of a game that we all know and changes the rules and situations in which it's played, or hell, even put it in a fantasy setting. We've already talked about the game Ribbit King, which mixes in traditional rules of golf with frogs and mini catapult. There's also Super Mario Strikers, which add power-ups to soccer. And most importantly, well, at least to this episode, Jerry Rice and Nidus' Dog Football, which add dogs to football. But not in like the Michael Vick way. Yes, you heard me right. Football has peaked with this title. Move aside Blitz the League and Cyberball, because Nidus is don't say it. Is the top ramen of football. Wait, that's not even like the metaphor I was going for. There is nothing more a casual sports fan could want from a game. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is the pinnacle of football games. But what is dog football? How does it work? Well, it's more or less a simplified version of football with, well, dogs and a human player. You get specific power-ups and you can jump over obstacles to get points. The most notable change to the game is the ARF point system that gives you points based on doing special things right before you get to a goal, like running to the side and jumping through hoops. At the end of the goal, you can either kick a field goal and get half of those points, or try and do the 2-point conversion and get them all. This really changes the pace of the game because a touchdown is only worth 6 points, but you might have racked up 20 ARF points and boom, the whole tide of the game's changed. In terms of content, there's plenty to do. Each season has about 14 games, and each win unlocks you access to more dogs, stadiums, and clothing for the dogs. Usually I'm really skeptical about giving clothing as a reward in shovelware titles, but seeing my dog run around in a tiara and booties, well, that just warms my heart. There's plenty to unlock, making for a lot of playtime. You really get your money's worth here. My only complaint is that this game chugs. Like, I get that the Wii isn't the best hardware out there, but man, this gets really bad. My other issue is that the human player can rush the ball. Like, I get that the QB sneak is an integral aspect of football, but come on, that's just unfair. But how does this stack up on the shovelware scale? Well, first off, it uses Hall of Fame wide receiver Jerry Rice as the main selling point of the game. I don't know, these are pretty good graphics. I don't think I can give it points for shovelware here, which that's probably a good thing. 3, there are plenty of design flaws that were clearly not QA'd properly. 4, most adults who are really into football probably know who Jerry Rice is, so they're gonna get this game for their kid. 5, who even is Judo Baby, or Pet Sports League for that matter? Let's just check out their website and we'll get more information. Oh my god, this thing looks like it survived the .com bubble. And this is really the only game that came from this studio, but they are working on another dog football title, and it's in VR. 6, you really can't get more repetitive than sports games. Now on to the good stuff. Maybe these characters aren't the most original, but they're kind of diverse. The graphics here aren't too bad, but that issue I mentioned earlier of the frame rate drops, well, it's not doing it too much of a justice. The game does have some big flaws, but they don't detract too much from the gameplay. The addition of the ARF system is really cool, and doing extra stunts for extra points is, well, always good in my book. The lack of choice during offensive plays feels really restrictive, and games won't vary from match to match, so I guess there's plenty of good to outweigh the bad and vice versa. Yeah, I don't really know who this game was for. Jerry Rice isn't like a figure that most children know, and you know what? I don't even think Jerry Rice knows who this game was for.
Like I said, grown-ups can play it, but we wanted to target the kids from 13 and under.
And for that fact alone, you know what? This definitely misunderstood its demographic. This is the only game under the studio's belt, and while Dino Dog Football does look promising, one game doesn't make or break a studio. I'll come back and give it retroactive points if Marshawn Lynch's Dog Football in VR is actually good. While my collection of game mostly consists of weird shit like this, I think I can give this game an honest recommendation. It's one to show off as an oddity, but it's also competent enough to be, dare I say it, fun. I know in an earlier episode I talked about my unbridled want for this game, but I did want to find it in the wild. Unfortunately, after 2 years of casual searching, I caved and spent $20 to buy it on Amazon. So if you can find it in the wild for cheap, don't pass it up. I'm not going to sit here and say it's worth $20 though. Okay, so we have a general sense of what makes a good shovelware game. Now let's throw all that shit into a blender and see if we can't make something worthy of folks' time. Alright, so first step, we need something or someone to sell the game. Now, I'm gonna stick with the idea that we're developing for either the PS2 or the Wii, seeing as how those are my favorite eras of shovelware. The current era of shovelware mostly exists on mobile platforms and is excessively predatory. That stuff's not really fun to talk about, so we're gonna stay in the strange time of the early 2000s. So let's pick someone from that time who would sell well, like, pick Tom Hanks. Shit, I guess we'll go with Tom Hanks. I mean, he sells well now, but, you know, fuck it, let's give him a Wii game. Alright, so we have our selling point, and we may have spent most of the budget there, but that doesn't help us with what the game is gonna be. So, core concepts. Tom Hanks Pro Skater. It has legs, but it requires a decent amount of physics work. So, The Secret World of Hanks. An RPG where all the bosses are directors, and they want to limit your input on scripts. Too much writing and world building. I got it. It's a new game show called No T Hanks. Get it? Like no thanks? It's really funny. It plays like a cross between Fear Factor, The Price is Right, and Mario Party, with Tom Hanks as the host. There's a panel of 10 players who have to individually play mini-games that are a mix of skill, luck, and based on common fears. All the panelists have to bet for or against that contestant. The person who has the least amount of money at the end of the round gets eliminated. Now, the mini-games are randomly selected out of a pool of 15. Most of these would be rip-offs of Mario mini-games that already exist. This loop keeps the player at bay while they're not actively playing, thus padding the runtime. The pool of 15 games is so that the player sees most of them, but will at max only play 10, incentivizing continued play. But what does the player get when they win? Other than satisfaction, of course. Well, they can unlock costumes for their avatar. They can check their stats, but most importantly, they can win new outfits for the host. Outfits that tread the line of copyright infringement for famous movies that Tom Hanks has been in. It would be totally worth the price of admission, just to see Tom Hanks acting like Bob Barker while wearing a bootlegged Woody outfit. Factors that'll further save time and money would be to hire a voice actor to do an impersonation of Hanks rather than the man himself, doing basic lines like, "Step on up, good job, champ, and better luck next time." For all the rest of the lines, it'll just be text on screen. The music will really just be one irritating loop for the main section, and 5 other irritating loops distributed amongst the 15 minigames. And finally, to curb the issue of character design and art direction, the characters will purposely be boxy in nature. Going for a more simple art direction can save time and effort while also giving the game a unique look. And boom! There we have it, shovelware that might actually be fun and profitable. Whoa, you finished the video. Like, you made it all the way through and stayed for the credits? I can't promise you any kind of, Marvel post-credits scene, but I can at least thank you. Subscribe for more if you want it. Thanks.